Sunday, August the 9th, 1998. A quiet Sunday in the Auckland Art Gallery. Suddenly, a man brandishing a sawn-off shotgun bursts through the main door. "Get down! Keep back!" he yells to terrified visitors who drop to the floor. The gunman then makes straight for one of the gallery's most valuable works, Still on Top by James Tissot. He leaps over the barrier and rips the painting off the wall. He throws it to the ground and the glass shatters inwards towards the fragile surface of the painting. The thief then uses a crowbar to wrench the canvas out of the heavy gilded frame, tucks the painting under his arm and sprints out of the gallery into Albert Park. Firing another warning shot over the head of a pursuing witness, the gunman leaps onto a motorbike and makes his getaway. New Zealand's most audacious art theft was all over in about 4 minutes. James Tissot, a French artist born in 1836, painted Still on Top in 1874 during the 11 years he spent in England as a political exile. The setting for the painting is the artist's garden in London, and in it 2 fashionably dressed women, helped by an elderly manservant, are busily raising the national flags of a number of European nations, among them Germany, Russia, Sweden, Norway and Belgium. The title is possibly an ironic reference to the British ensign, which is just visible at the top. Then valued at around £500, Still on Top was gifted to the Auckland Art Gallery in 1921 by the wealthy British industrialist Lord Leverhulme, who had enjoyed a visit to New Zealand in 1892. The painting quickly became a favourite with gallery visitors. A study in stripes, the work shows the artist's interest in Japanese prints, especially in the women's poses, and it is typical of Tissot's works depicting scenes and costumes of fashionable society. In art historical terms, Tissot provides an important link between 2 major movements of 19th century European art: academic narrative and historical painting, and the immediacy of the French realist and impressionist schools who depicted aspects of everyday life. For the next 9 days, the story of the robbery made headlines throughout New Zealand and the international art world, and speculation about a possible motive and intent was rife. Why would a thief wielding a crowbar risk such damage to a painting worth at least $2 million if he intended to sell it? Was he just a clumsy amateur working alone? Or was he a professional working for overseas art collectors? Had New Zealand been catapulted into the art underworld with the painting already spirited out of the country to a new owner, or the international black market? Airports were put on high alert, and Interpol contacted agencies in 177 countries, while New Zealand police posted a $50,000 reward for information and warned visitors to galleries if they found themselves confronted by a gunman, "Don't be a dead hero." Surveillance camera footage offered one consolation: that the thief had fled from the building with the painting not rolled up as first reported, but still on its wooden stretcher. Hopefully it might not be too badly damaged. On August 17th, after 9 days of intense activity, police swooped on a remote farm cottage and arrested a man as he tried to escape on a motorbike. Still on Top was found in the cottage in a sack under a bed. When gallery staff saw the recovered painting for the first time, their initial joy and optimism turned to dismay, even despair. The painting had been savaged, gallery director Chris Saines told the media, and his staff were heartbroken. After being examined by police for fingerprints, Still on Top was returned to the Auckland Art Gallery into the care of the gallery's principal conservator, Sarah Hillary. The objectivity of her brief preliminary report conceals what she must have felt while examining the painting. There were numerous paint losses, jagged cuts to the canvas and 2 large canvas losses. The tacking edge has been cut on 3 sides and sellotape used to hold the canvas to the stretcher. The paint is generally very unstable, and so great care should be taken when moving the painting. The canvas is very brittle from age. She admitted to being horrified and depressed by the damage, and keenly aware of the technically demanding task that lay ahead of her and her team during the next year or more. It is going to be a very difficult and very slow treatment. A conservator of cultural property is a highly trained professional who understands the composition of cultural objects, how they respond to their environment, and the processes that contribute to their deterioration. The painstaking treatment for this work would involve 3 stages: documentation and research, to determine the painting's structure and materials, documenting its condition, research and consultation to establish suitable treatment options. Conservation, repairing and stabilizing its condition, repairing tears, cleaning, lining the painting onto a new backing, and the removal of old varnish and revarnishing. Restoration, restoring the appearance, filling of losses and texturing of fills to imitate overall surface texture, retouching, final varnishing, and preparation for display in a suitable frame. The primary objective was to restore the work to a standard where it could again be put on public display, while maintaining the integrity of the artist's work. Sarah's preliminary research included gathering up all the known information on Tissot and his techniques, consulting widely with other conservators in New Zealand and overseas, and analysing the painting to determine the materials used and their chemical and physical structure. This information would determine the materials and methods chosen for the treatment. This research revealed that Still on Top was painted on linen canvas of medium weight and plain weave that Tissot bought ready primed, sized and prepared with the 2 ground layers, and possibly ready stretched. The oil paint layer was generally thin, so that the canvas weave texture was visible in most places. In some areas, such as the flags, it was built up with thicker paint, and that small and medium brushes were used to build up the image. A powerful scanning electron microscope at the University of Auckland found that the pigments were a variety of organic and inorganic pigments, typical of the palette used by the Impressionists. And gas chromatography carried out in Britain detected linseed, poppy seed, and walnut oils in samples of the paint, along with traces of wax. Before its theft, the painting was in good condition thanks to Tissot's academic training and technique, as well as his use of quality materials. Finally, after months of exhaustive consultation, a treatment plan was drawn up and work began in February 1999. The first task was to consolidate the paint so that the painting could be removed from the stretcher without further damage, and to lay the painting on a suction table where pressure was gradually increased until the painting was completely flat. Sarah then turned her attention to the tears. Fortunately, the worst of these and the paint losses were in areas of background with minimal impact on the delicately painted figures. Working with a microscope, she moved tiny threads in the torn areas back into place and secured them with adhesive. This was done from the front, and then with the painting carefully and laboriously secured before being turned over, from the back. Next, loose pieces of canvas were put back in place, but the actual holes in the canvas presented a real challenge. Fortuitously, Sarah discovered a similar primed linen backing canvas removed during treatment of another painting. This was virtually identical to the canvas weave of the Tissot, and if accurately cut, could provide the missing pieces to the jigsaw. Light-sensitive paper placed behind the painting in a darkened room was used to make exact photographic templates from which to cut the areas of replacement canvas. These then had to be attached so that the weave was in the same direction as the Tissot canvas. At this point, the painting's surface was cleaned using cotton buds and plenty of spit. The enzymes in human saliva, alpha amylase, have been found to make it a safe and mild cleaning agent, reacting with and removing oils caused by handling, as well as dissolving and removing water-soluble compounds. Now, with the major mending job satisfactorily completed, Sarah was ready for the next exacting stage, attaching the painting on its original canvas onto another, stronger backing or lining. A French polyester was chosen because its tensile strength would provide adequate support for the repaired canvas. The choice of acrylic adhesive was the subject of no less than 15 tests carried out to determine the most effective and safest. Now the remaining losses could be filled, taking great care to texture the surface to imitate the surrounding paint. Otherwise they would remain glaringly obvious, regardless of whether or not the colors were correctly matched when retouched. Next, the painting could be re-stretched onto its original stretcher, fortunately not damaged in the robbery, even using Tissot's original tacks. The discolored varnish then had to be cleaned off so that the retouching would be as close to the original paint layers as possible. The restoration of the painting began with the filling of lost areas before cleaning. Now, with the painting stabilized, its losses repaired, cleaned and newly varnished, one person was entrusted with the painstaking and lengthy task of retouching and glazing the filled areas. Nell Roll, trained in conservation in Holland, did the delicate retouching, using photographs of the painting as a guide, and painting only the areas of loss, apart from a few scratches and abrasions. The painting was then revarnished using a semi-gloss finish, in keeping with the original and other Tissot paintings. With conservation and restoration complete, it is difficult to detect restored areas with the naked eye, but it is possible using ultraviolet light and other methods to reveal the hand of the conservator and the recent history of the painting. In keeping with the conservator's code of ethics, though, the treatment can be reversed in the future if this was found to be necessary. While there is no record of the work's original frame, we do know that Tissot was very particular about the designs he used. The exquisitely restored still on top needed something equally stunning to show it off. This design, with its especially made mouldings, is based on an original Tissot frame in the Tate Gallery and gilded with 23-karat gold leaf. The restoration was the gallery's toughest ever, said director Chris Sains. Through tragic circumstance, Sarah Hillary and her team had been able to acquire an intimate knowledge of the techniques and materials used by James Tissot, unmatched anywhere in the world. Their expertise and patience have also allowed visitors to the gallery another chance to see one of their favorites, a painting now with several more layers of history.